Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it. Our Father, who art in heaven. Seriously? What the actual fuck?
Gilead doesn't care about children. Gilead cares about power.
Why does healing have to be the only goal? Why can't we be as furious as we feel?
For whatever man sows, so shall he reap.
Welcome to Above the Garage.
Hi friends, welcome to our analysis of Season 3, Episode 11 of The Handmaid's Tale, which is entitled Liars. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Helen.
Hi, I'm Marigold.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Raquel.
Hi, I'm Violet.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Kate. So this episode opens to the sounds of kids chattering while we look at all the muffins. And she answers my question from the last episode. It's 52 kids that the Marthas and handmaids want to get out.
I thought it was cute that when we heard the children in the background, she touches the baby muffin.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice
like
that either.
the smallest muffin.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Smallest little muffin.
I like tiny things.
And there was a muffin with a face on it too, by the way.
It was so cute.
That one I didn't notice.
She recognizes the mathematical problem of 10 seats for 52 kids right before we hear some drama going on in the study. And June comes in and Eleanor's holding a gun to Joseph's head. And he asks her not to, but Eleanor's not listening to him. So June talks to her. She's the only one able to calm people down, it seems. And Eleanor screams that June was raped because of him. And June agrees she would like to kill him too, but we can't always do what we want. We have to control ourselves. So June's learning things too. Then she does this thing that she did in a previous episode. I can't remember who it was with, maybe Lawrence, but she blames it on Eleanor also and tells her she's complicit in all of this, that we all are. You could have done something. We all could have done something. And Eleanor's like, well, I'm doing something now. And June tells her that she needs her alive in order to pull off her plan. And it's a way to fix things, but she needs Joseph to help. And Eleanor's crying when she asks, will it make it better? And I just fucking love Julie Drexen. She's amazing as Eleanor. Like, all the emotions that come across are amazing. She finally lowers the gun and June embraces her, holding her head the way Nick holds hers when she's broken. And it's a sweet moment.
I really do like Eleanor's character. I think it's really, really, really good character. And I really like their relationship with June. And I really liked her saying that everybody's at fault of what happened, and that it's a good point in the whole series. So I enjoyed that scene.
She's one of my favorite parts, I think, about season 3. I'll highlight her performance.
I also like what June said, that all of this has to add up to something, that it has to mean something. I like that she's not giving up. She's realizing it doesn't need to end like this without Hannah and her, fading away. That this, it has to lead to something, that it's not suffering just for the sake of suffering.
Yeah.
So I like that.
And I like how the martyrs really want to make a difference. Like, people are so tired of it that they really are happy to risk their lives, because something good needs to come out of all of the suffering and all of the terrible things that happen to all of these people.
Yeah, and that they're finally kind of doing something. It's a big risk too, obviously, but that hope that they can all get killed for doing this, but if, like how they say, if we don't try, we're not gonna really know if we can make a difference. So I think it's a very important turning point. Yeah.
I also noticed a weirdly specific thing. It seems like June and Lawrence both do kind of like a twitchy eye thing in like a stressful situation, and they like blink really hard.
Blinking, yeah.
I noticed that too. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Then in Lawrence's study, June tells him that Eleanor's settled, and we can see that like Joseph is not. He can't even pour a drink. He's so shaken. And so June says he'll do it. And he says, yeah, you do everything, don't you, Ice Queen? And she takes the moment to tell him that she's found the kids to help him leave, and the Marthas, more than she expected, actually. And when he asks how many, she drops the 52 bomb. He's like, I'm sorry. And then she's like, confidently, 52 kids that you are going to help save from this shitty place you created. I enjoy her confidence, even though we know like underneath that maybe she's not as confident.
I just love Bradley Whitford so much. Like, I feel like if he wasn't the one playing this character, we really wouldn't like him as much. But just the way he says, like, I'm sorry, like the way he looks, it's just so funny. I can't help but laugh.
Yeah. Well, it's like literally every single line of his he makes kind of hilarious, even though obviously he's an asshole also. And but like every single line, like Mikasa, Sukasa, and then every single line, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Even when he said like, you know how insane you look, like we overlooked the mental health. I still couldn't help but laugh just because of the way he said it. He's like, we overlooked it, damn it.
And maternal love.
And he said the maternal love.
Yeah.
That was so infuriating. Overlooking maternal love, like the most powerful thing on the planet. And
it just shows that like he was just looking at the like not the emotional part,
like the economics.
Yeah, he was just looking at the economical part, like
theory.
He just completely overlooked human emotion, and I guess that's why he's in this situation right now.
Yep.
I think Lawrence was also like, when he called her an ice queen, I think he was a little bit embarrassed at what went on, and like probably demasculated too, like that he couldn't protect himself against his wife, and June was the only one who could really get through to her. Like, I mean, that's gotta hurt.
So he does see himself maybe a little bit in her, or of the way he would like to be, how she's got like this shield, but she really does seem to be in control of the situation.
I think he admires her. I think he's slightly jealous of her. That I think he wish he could be like her. I like the way her like hair is down in this whole episode, and she's just very like sitting around the house in her like pajamas, basically. Like,
her outfit
very casual.
It feels very much like she just owns the place, kind of, or she's like really settled in there,
doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she asks if he can get more trucks out, and he says he'll try. And then she revisits something he said in the previous episode. Wouldn't it be funny if you actually turned out to be a hero? And he just laughs humorlessly, wouldn't it? Then Serena's all gussied up when Rita comes out with her luggage and says a weird line about needing to pack the same amount of toiletries no matter how many days she's gone. But I guess it's supposed to tell us that she's supposed to only be gone for one day. And Rita's asked how close she is to bringing Nicole back, and Serena says closer than ever. And Rita oversteps her usual bounds and pushes Serena, and you sure this is the best thing for Nicole? And Serena doesn't answer. She just thanks her for loving Nicole so much. It says, may the Lord bless you and keep you.
When she says, may God bless you and keep you, is that what Serena says when she gives off baby Nicole?
I think she like quotes a really long scripture with her, because I remember thinking like, okay, you gotta go, like when she's giving up Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. That might have been part of it, or something very similar to that.
And then in the car, Fred echoes, may the Lord bless our endeavors. And Fred's excited about driving again. I love driving. I would be too. And at the Lawrences, Beth tells June that they're here and she should just answer the questions. Don't ask any and don't say anything extra. And we discover they is a group of Marthas who seem quite unhappy with June and feel that they own the resistance. And she didn't even ask their permission for her plans. They're pissed. One of them says it's a dumb idea and they're shutting her down. And June says she doesn't need their permission. And then Martha says, well, we could just poison you and nobody would care. She's like, so June's like, fine, I'll ask. Will you grant me permission to rescue 52 kids from a lifetime of salvaging, torture, and rape? And another Martha says, nobody's going to help you. They answer to us. And June tells them that they've already agreed. They're not impressed. And June says her commander's going to help. He's done it before. And that pisses them off too, because Martha points out they did it before. She just jumped on an already moving train. And now she thinks she's shaved fucking Guevara. I enjoyed June's response. There will be an escape vehicle with room for 52 kids. If you'd like that vehicle to be empty, I have no doubt you can do that. But why would you? So she acknowledges their power, but also it's like
their power trip. Yeah. They're kind of like, I mean, I understand that they have their own system, but I wasn't clear on what their system was. Like, so you're just smuggling things. Obviously you're smuggling things for the resistance, but I think that what June's offering, yes, it's careless. I do understand that, but it's different. It's also a different kind of hit. So that power trip dynamic there, I'm like, I don't know what you guys got with it, but I was kind of like annoyed the first time I saw it. Then I understood it the second time I saw it. Then I got annoyed again. So I don't know. I wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
I kind of saw them as the Sopranos of Gilead. They were like the mob. Like they seem to be obviously like the head of the Marthas, right?
Yeah. At least their resistance, not the network.
I would watch an entire season just about that, actually.
Yeah. Martha spinoff would be awesome. I think if they had another like big plan in the works, that it would make sense of them to, tell June to cool it. There's something big we're planning. You can fuck that up if you get caught. But if indeed they're just getting things, like it seems, from, Canada, black market things.
They also probably do share information, so it might not be just things.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it is the way they get things in and out, but I suppose they do get in contact with like the resistance in Canada, maybe. So if that route blows because of the whole trying to get the kids out. That is probably quite an important route for this area and these markers that do amalgam maybe more than just things.
Yeah.
Maybe not people, but it's got to be like some form of sharing information and intel from Gilead to the resistance somewhere else.
Right. And Billy's important to them, it seems.
Yes, clearly. Yeah.
A plane and Billy is a big deal.
And it looks like they're doing small things. So there are a lot of small things that they're doing. So not to risk everything. And what June is proposing can blow up everything. They're gonna.
It's very conspicuous. So if it goes wrong, then
they also knew that June, like, you know, she tries to do good, but when she tries to do those things, people get killed. So. You know, they were probably worried that
trail of bodies.
Yeah,
they might also be a little like they might have known. I've forgotten her name. Frances, was it? Hannah's Martha. So maybe they're also a little bit pissed off with what she did and how she got her killed.
Yeah.
Something that was interesting is like how they meet up at Lawrence's house. Like, is this already like standard by the Marthas? Like, is that why Beth is there? After seeing this episode, I had so many questions. And when they say, you jumped into a train that was already moving. Like, what do they mean? Like, the Emily escape? So the escape was for Emily because Lawrence had organized it, kind of rushed to save her, and then the whole June thing happened.
I felt it was just the work and the resistance that they're doing. So they have already built up like a base up for it. And June comes in, busting through the door and, you know, wanting to do her plan.
Be in charge.
Be in charge or just push her plan. Without having done the work that the Martyrs had done before with laying out the base for the resistance.
Again, she is using the route, the network of getting people, themes in and out. So she wants to use the already established network.
Yeah. Beth interjects that she will vouch for June and basically reads out her resume, her rebellion resume. And then the Martha says that they won't help her, but they won't stand in her way. And then they're gone. And June's happy enough with that. Back to Fred and Serena. Fred's really enjoying the open road, and he asks her if she's nervous, and she admits a little. Fred reassures her that he's proud of her and that Tuello didn't know who he's dealing with her. And she agrees that the Americans have always underestimated their devotion to the cause. But I think she's talking about a different cause than Fred is talking about. Nicole. And she says that they think we're as weak as the Americans are. Then Oprah makes another cameo on Radio Free America, and Fred quickly turns her off, but he offers Serena a turn at the wheel, and she refuses at first. A wife should never. But he pulls over, and she takes the keys, and she's so excited. Her first taste of freedom. And while actually driving, like, I've never seen her happier. Again, I've said this 1 billion times, but I hate how they make me feel happy things for her.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah, right? Let's Twist Again is playing on the radio as she peels off.
I like how she looks back before getting in the car. Like, she's looking back at what she's leaving behind. And then she looks forward.
Yeah.
That was a nice shot.
And Fred says something like, you're going to be great, you're going to do fine, whatever. It feels like reassurance for Serena. It feels like in this moment, she kind of switches because at first she's wary of driving the car. But then I feel like as soon as Fred says, you're going to do it, it's going to be all fine, she also, you know, takes it to the whole plan that she has. So she's going to get Nicole, everything's going to be all right. And then this bright smile comes to her face. And that's when she kind of switches. I feel like her mood, you know, switches. And can I also note Fred in the shades when it's cloudy outside? Why? Because it's always sunny in Doucheville, or
I think he went back to the 80s for that outfit.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
He wants to feel cool.
You matched with a car.
Joseph Fiennes is pretty attractive, but then I'm like, oh, he looks all right. Oh, it's Fred. No, I'm joking.
We can add something about what they're talking about, the pollution, because they're kind of justifying what they did with the fact that they have now clean air and they return the world to its natural state. Kind of bullshit that they do.
Yeah, and kidnapping babies is a natural way now.
Exactly.
It's a bold statement to say that they've returned the world to its like natural life.
And they are not driving an electric car; they're driving like a fuel car because you can see the exhumes. So yes, you're doing great work.
I had like a logistical question about that actually. Like, how are they driving? Like, where are they getting gas from? How are they handling that?
I wondered that too.
They just have tanks in the car, or like what? Yeah.
Good question.
When they were driving, he was like, "Oh, there's nobody for miles around." So I was like,
Mhm.
there's no gas stations."
And the gas station they stop at is obviously deserted forever.
Abandoned.
Yeah.
Gas there.
Right.
To me, as a European, where all countries are like really small, doesn't really come into mind because I was like, I don't know, how long is it? Can you not just go to tank and drive like 3 hours?
If they were driving from Boston, right?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe when they stop at the farm, they have gas there, or they have like a hybrid.
Their car did have like a fancy Gilead vibe to it, like with the lights and the like. Maybe it's some kind of a electric.
And I have like another logistical question too. It didn't seem like they went through any like checkpoints. Like it definitely didn't seem like there was a ton of security. I don't know if it's just because he was a top commander and like he just like breezed through like checkpoints and we don't see that, but I would just assume that there'd be more security outside of the city.
Yeah.
I guess where they are, like they've probably passed that and they're like out in the middle of nowhere at that point.
You can probably only get to like a certain point without, unless you like high ranking commander, you probably can't get past that point, and then afterwards, because they are allowed to go to Canada, aren't they?
Yeah,
because they do diplomatic trips and stuff like that. So maybe he does have the clearance to cross that. Yeah, I was gonna say that maybe because he's buddy with Winslow now. I don't know.
Oh,
you can see later on.
Yeah,
you can see later on that the other commander doesn't really have that much luck doing kind of like the same thing, but Fred did.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
And I think it makes sense that there are security checkpoints around places where a lot of people live, and if they're in the middle of nowhere, then the next checkpoint is going to be somewhere where there are people again, maybe.
Yeah, like closer to the border.
Where they're, like a town or cities.
Yeah.
Then they arrive at the very nice house they're staying at, and he's driving again. The Econo family is excited to host them. I guess these are like the Eden families of the world. Serena compliments their children, and the mom says she's lucky to have their parents there to help raise them. It takes a village. The teenage girl says she loves that color, teal, the color of the wives. And it's so notable to me how like drab their uniform color is. It's excessively drab.
I just thought the lighting at their house was so beautiful, the way they shot it, like the fires outside and
it's such a nice house.
Yeah,
big as well. Like
it
seemed really nice for people that are meant to be maybe poor.
I think it's a bed and breakfast, isn't it?
Is it?
I think so.
Oh, I thought they just asked to stay there.
If you look at the credits, which is what I just looked at, the credits say B&B Econo.
There's a sign outside. When are you getting out of the car?
Yeah, this house made me sad because like you said, Kate, like it made me think of Eden. It was also like ironic that this family is like everything like Serena wants, but they're so different from them. Like they're just like the opposite of Fred and Serena.
We never saw Fred and Serena sing, like church songs just for fun. So
it was really nice too when they were walking, like with the lights and stuff.
Yeah,
it was like really romantic.
It really like never ceases to stun me how they make these scenes so beautiful. Like even in the trailer, the vigil scene, like what we saw of it did not look like that, right? Like the filming.
No,
like you guys saw more than I did, but like I could never imagine that shot is what came out of that Newmarket area.
It looked like there were so many candles, and there were like 15 people there.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
How do they do it? Anyway, then June is helping Beth chop veggies when they talk about the Martha shipment. And June asks Beth what's in the shipment, and she says no idea. But she tells her that she chose Billy as her black market replacement at Jezebel's when she left because she trusts his love of money. And Sienna comes in and reveals that Lawrence hasn't been seen all day. So June goes to his office with her papers shredded everywhere and a note that simply says sorry. And June simply yells, "Fuck." And she's tearing apart his desk and finds a phone. She plugs it in and picks it up. And here's the Guardian operator asking Commander Lawrence who he wants to call. And they're all stressed because they're all going to get fucked, possibly literally, Beth points out, by Lawrence abandoning them. She might go to Jezebel's. But June's still got her one-track mind, and she wants to know if she can talk to Billy to use the plane to get the kids out. Sienna comes in and admits she's scared, and June kicks them both out of the room. But Lawrence has betrayed them.
My only question again is, when I left, I picked him to coordinate the black market stuff. Who the fuck is Beth? why did she leave Jezebel's? Like, aren't you in Jezebel's as a punishment? But she was still a cook. So she got transferred out, did Lawrence pick her, and then she left Jezebel. But then she says, I picked him to coordinate the black market stuff. So I think that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, as if she was the one doing it before from Jezebel's, which we kind of saw with Nick. But
yeah, I think it was probably a promotion to Lawrence's house. I'm sure Lawrence handpicked her because she was like a highly, sought after chef, and Lawrence wants the best of the best. So
that's what I always assumed, that he requested her.
I also don't assume that the Marthas at Jezebel's is a punishment, because they don't have to get raped.
Yeah.
They do have some benefits of probably being able to like read and talk to people in their spare time. I don't know if they read, but I think they're able to get away with a lot more stuff. So I don't know if being a Martha there is a punishment. I think when she's saying she'll get sent back to Jezebel, she's saying as a prostitute.
Oh, okay.
That was my take.
Gotcha.
But also it's interesting that they show like just what we were just talking about. Fred and Serena are blowing into Canada without any like border checks or any problems at all. And then Lawrence and the Lawrences can knock it out.
Lawrence has also got a target on his back now.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Just Winslow didn't like him? They did the ceremony.
Because of June, I think.
I think because Fred's obsession with June.
We do find out that he's very high, and that all the commanders have to go to his house because he's that important. So it seems like he's more important than. So I think they did want to get rid of him with the ceremony. They were kind of hoping he wouldn't go through it.
I agree. I think Fred wanted him out of the way.
Yeah. I feel like Fred was really jealous as well.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what they were trying to do with Price back in season 2. The commanders like hungry for power and hungry to move up. And, we knew that Fred had been demoted because of what happened with Polly. And then he was getting all mushy with Winslow and DC. And that's what Fred wants, power. So plus the June, like I also think, like you guys said, it's about him.
Do we know if he's been
assert power?
Know that he had Holly's escape and Emily's escape? We don't hear about that, do we?
We don't.
Which is weird.
Yeah. Well, they painted that Emily kidnapped Polly.
True.
That's kind of like the story they painted. So I guess, they kind of believe things pretty easily too. But yeah.
I also got the vibe that from the last episode 10, when Winslow visits Boston and he sees all the handmaids without their face mask and stuff, and he goes up to June and Fred's talking to her, and Fred's like trying to get her to suggest that she wants to come back to move to Washington with him and Serena. And I kind of feel like when she didn't answer that, he got jealous and he wanted to see what was going on in their household. And then when she slaps him in the face and basically says, at least it wasn't you, I think he gets the message.
Yeah But I feel like that was Fred's motive. I didn't quite understand why Winslow was so like into the whole thing. Oh yeah, let's go for it. And both of them seem to be disappointed at the end of it when he comes out of the room after being gone through with it. Both of them do seem to be disappointed that he did do it. So I think there was something more rather than just them being, okay, we're going to force him to do that because we hate him.
If Fred and Winslow are kind of conspiring to take over things, like Winslow's trying to help Fred move up the ranks, so he would want Fred to take over Lawrence's position of power, I think.
I think Winslow would just do anything what Fred wants because he wants to bone him.
Yep. I was going to say that. I think he probably did want him to be in charge in Boston. But then again, that would move him away from DC, which would be easy to get to him if you stay with him. But anyway.
It's a really nice Econo house. The family's putting on a concert, and it's such a lovely random fucking house, I wrote. And they're singing Domine Nos Patrum. Obviously, it's about the opposite of Gilead. Serena wanders into the woods, and Fred follows her, saying, picking up on the fact that she's worried. But Serena says she's fine and starts reminiscing about their first little apartment above the bakery. Fred kept her in a solid supply of chocolate croissants because he wanted to fatten her up so other men didn't want her.
He's so gross.
This is like the worst.
That's common, really. And the way she was like, oh, how sweet of you.
Right?
Oh, sexist and what?
Yeah.
Terrible.
She remembers writing her first book there, and when Fred says she's a good writer, she confronts him and asks, how could you take that away from me? And he said he didn't realize how much this would cost you.
Which again,
not fucking true. But she daydreams about where they would be if Gilead had never happened. And Fred very accurately says he would be the man behind the woman, which is how it should be. That's their power dynamic. But Serena says he'd get resentful and they'd get divorced and he'd find a fertile woman and marry her. And he finally kind of admits to his sterility, I think, when he says she'd leave him for a man who could make her pregnant.
I actually can't believe he admitted it. Like,
yeah,
it just makes it even worse that he already pretty much knew that he was infertile.
And it was just a slip of a tongue, right? He was just, engaging in this little banter they were having, and then he just said it and he almost stopped himself. So it was like somewhere there at the surface. So it's not like a secret that he is buried somewhere and forgotten about it. He like actively knows and thinks of it, that he is in fact sterile. So
he was also a little bit sincere, as shocking as it was in this whole conversation. I think they kind of both were, but I can't believe Serena was like, how could you take this away from me? Like, you gave it away. You didn't take anything away from you. You were more than willing to give it away. So
you gave him the toll.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
I was so aggravated with her more than with him, because it's like
she did that to herself because she did have the power at the time.
And in her book, wasn't her book all about, like, wasn't it called A Woman's Place? I think it was. So like she wanted these traditional gender roles, and like, I don't know, like, I'm sure she didn't think it was going to go that extreme where she couldn't read, right, etc. But like, this is what you wanted.
I always felt like she thought that she knew what was going to happen to other women, but I think she thought that Fred would allow her to have a little bit of power in the household. Whereas after he had a little bit of a taste of the power, he was like, no, I want to be in charge, and you just do your role as a woman, which is what you are happy for the women to do. And I think that's what she always felt like this. He did it to her because I think in her mind she thought she would be able to manipulate him and control him, even after Gilead started.
She answers that question, and when the Mexican delegation is visiting, she tells the Mexican ambassador that was a sacrifice for, I don't remember the word she exactly uses, but like, I sacrifice for other things, like a small sacrifice. So she knew.
Yeah.
Also, and I was saying that it's quite interesting to see how she says, "Oh, you would resent me if I had been the woman in power or in charge of the household, and we would get divorced." But that's exactly kind of like what happens when he's in charge, because they hate each other. She does resent him, and a few episodes before she would have divorced him after he chopped her finger off. If she could have filed for divorce, she wasn't allowed to in Gilead, and her mom kind of forced her to like stay with him. But that is the dynamic of the relationship. That is exactly who they are. It's just the definition of it. It would have been the other way around, because they just don't have a real connection. They don't love each other. They don't care about each other's dreams. They just want to be in charge or follow one dream or the other's dream. It's just they don't really have a commitment to the other person.
I kind of feel like Fred did love Serena before. I don't know, I just felt like he kind of bowed down to her and thought she was like king shit. I don't know, that's just the feeling I got.
Yeah, but the second he kind of like had a taste of her power, she decided, he was like, okay, well, I like these two, so I will, step on you and have it for myself.
Because I always remember that line that when Serena gets shot and Fred's crying and Serena's like, be a man, Fred, or whatever she says. She kind of like turned him into what he is. Like, obviously he did it with help, but she was there all along.
She created him.
Yeah.
She pushed him to that.
Like, it's such bullshit though when he actually says like he would give up his place in line because he doesn't need all the pomp and circumstance, which is like literally what makes him. He eats that shit up. That's all he cares about.
I had the exact same note. Like,
I couldn't believe he said that.
How they know, like, so out of character. The whole conversation, like, that's just not him at all. Like, none of that is true, really.
Right, and then he says, like, he doesn't want to miss our daughter, watching our daughter grow up, her first step. She's going to grow up to be just like you. And it's just, like, also not true. He doesn't give a shit about her. He didn't when she was there.
But he just literally also said that he understands and he admits that she's not his either. So saying our daughter is like, but it's neither of yours.
I feel like Serena doesn't, and obviously it's not hers, but I don't think she would want her to grow up like her. Does that make sense? I don't know. Does anyone else think that?
Because of Serena's mom being like a huge bitch, you mean?
And just also because we do see Serena trying to, get her powers back, like with reading and stuff. Obviously, she gets her finger cut off, so she like stops. But I just feel like I think she doesn't want it for her daughter, but she's such a bitch that she'll do it anyway.
Yeah, she's so selfish she can't, even though she knows Gilead would be a terrible outcome for her.
Yeah.
She wants the company more than anything.
Yeah. She doesn't want to knit sweaters anymore.
Then they're in the first, like you said earlier, the setting for that scene is just amazing to me. The candles on the trees, I guess they're candles. It's just such a cool looking scene. And then they are in the room with the uterus lamps.
I didn't notice that until the rewatch, and I was like, what the hell?
And Fred and Serena are in separate beds, and Fred reaches his hand out and she clasps his hand and demands come. Again, the only way this couple would ever work is with her in charge and him following, because that's just their natural way. But it's implied that they have sex. Back at the Lawrences, June hears Joseph's voice telling Beth to take Eleanor to her room. So they're back. And she breathes a sigh of relief. She's sitting behind his desk looking like the boss when he comes in and asks, what are you doing back? And he lies and says he had an attack of conscience, which she immediately calls bullshit. Says, you promised you would help me. I made certain promises based on that. And Lawrence says, you should have known that you're a fucking liar, that my wife is more important to me than you are. And she calls him on not being able to get out, and he confirms that his clearances have changed and he can't get out even if he wants to. He's stuck. It's just a matter of time before they kill him. He says he'll do what he can to keep her from the worst of it, Jezebel's in the colonies, and he'll try to find her a kind commander. And that gives you an idea, and she tells him to take him to Jezebel's.
I just got a question because I was thinking, like, obviously he can get to Jezebel's, but he can't go anywhere else. Where he was going, was that just further out or what?
I think Jezebel's is in the city.
Boston, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it really doesn't make a lot of sense when he said, you should have known that my wife is more important than you are. But what was he going to do with her? Like, what was the plan? And he realized that they couldn't go anywhere. Did he try to escape? And then, they got caught.
He probably had a story, and then when he realized he couldn't, I mean, he's a smart man. Then when he realized that, he just came back. I figured that's what he was trying to do, because why would he just up and go in the middle of the night? He probably had a separate plan.
That's exactly what June wants them to do. She's trying to get them out.
Yeah.
So
June's plan is way more risky. Like the whole plan.
Yeah.
So if like Lawrence and Eleanor just like escape quietly, then their chances of making it out are probably better.
Yeah.
Is that really that easy to do? Like, can you just drive like Serena and Fred did? Can everybody with a bit of the clearance, or like any commander can do that? They can just go like that?
He's a powerful commander, quote unquote, or so he thought.
Yeah.
He is ignoring, though, the fact that they've discussed that he's a war criminal and he's going to go to jail unless he has something huge to offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True.
You can try to trade intel, but
maybe he was just trying to get Eleanor out, knowing that he was going to be put in prison, and he'd rather risk her,
Yeah.
But then again, June's plan would be a little bit better for everybody, even though it's riskier.
And I think that's why he comes back, because, there is plan B, June's plan. So that's why he comes back, probably.
Yeah.
And I feel like he learned to trust her gut, that she will probably die doing this. But the chances are high that if the plan works out, then Eleanor and him are going to make it out.
Lawrence knows that he can't get a truck out too, though, because he says, I can't get anything.
All right.
But then again, how did that happen? How did he get stripped of all his clearances from before? What happened? What changed?
Fred, right? Somehow.
Fred. That's what I would think, Fred.
yeah. But Lawrence takes her to Jezebel's and tells her he'll wait in the car. I like that he doesn't even want to see that place, although he deserves to see that place. Only You by Portishead is playing, which, as usual, lyrics and sound are perfect. Whip, 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 whip it like that. We suffer every day. What is it for? These crimes of illusion are fooling us all. And now I'm weary and I feel like I do. Relevant, as usual.
Do you guys like thinking about where they got this outfit real quick for June? Like, she's got the
I just loved her shoes.
Yeah, the shoes and the dress and stuff. Like,
that would fit her as well.
She was like, hey, Lawrence, we need to stop real quick and pick up an outfit.
Jezebel's outfit.
Or Beth got it for her or something. I don't know.
Well, that's a big basement, though. So they probably do have loads of things there. Like, anybody could go shopping there, probably.
Maybe.
Red souls.
Yeah.
I love that they use the lubies with the red souls.
Yes.
So good. And that's expensive shit.
I like that she walked into Jezebel's like a boss.
Yeah.
June goes to the bar and smiles at the woman to her right before some disgusting commander undresses her, and both women are disgusted and sad. But Billy is the bartender, and that's who she's here for. So she tells him she's a friend of Beth's and she needs help. He says everyone needs help. And she said she's heard that he has access to a cargo plan. And he says, you want to ride? But no, it's for Beth and a commander and his wife and 52 children. I love how she always drops that like casually at the end. No big deal. And Billy tells her she doesn't have enough money. And so June offers him a house full of Picassos, Cezannes, Rembrandts, and Pissarros. And he immediately knows that, oh, she's in Lawrence's house because he stole all those paintings. He raided the museums the moment that he could. That's fucked up, Lawrence. Not cool.
I have a theory of the art. Eleanor was an art history professor. And I honestly think that as shitty as it is, yes, that they looted the museums to decorate their houses. I think the pictures or the art that he got, which is completely different from the other art that you see in the Gilead houses, he did it for his wife. And he also was taking care of the art that Gilead was going to destroy, because what's in his house, it's what in Nazi Germany they would have called degenerate art. So it's all the Cubism, and he has Picasso's Expressionism, Impressionism. I mean, he has Georgia O'Keeffe, he has a Basquiat. So those are paintings that were probably going to be destroyed. So he has them decorating his house, but he's also saving them. And it's really interesting to me how how art is usually a currency. In the real world, usually art and art programs are the first things that are scrapped from education, when I do think that they're very important for human development. But in times of war, art is like a very big currency. And saving it also is kind of like a testament to saving, things from humanity's past. So I'm not excusing him, but
there are a couple of Nazi references too in this episode, Kimberly pointed out. And I think, I just feel like the Nazis stealing art, that was also a big thing. Trying to get it returned, etc. after the fact. So I do like your reasoning, though, very much. It sounds like him. She tells him she just needs him to keep the plane on the ground for 24 hours, and he tells her she gets 20 minutes. And she gets a maybe out of him. It is kind of funny for her to demand that the plane sit there for 24 hours in Gilead. Yeah. As she's walking out victoriously, someone calls her off Joseph, and it's Winslow. Gross. He wants to talk. And in the room, he asks her where Lawrence is, and she makes up a story appropriate for a creepy commander. He likes me to come here and tell him what happens. You all seem to have your kinks. And Winslow's psyched. He wants to give her something to tell him. And the ominous music plays, and he tells her to get on the bed, to keep her shoes on. And she's doing her voiceover in her head. I've done this before. I can do it again. Just like all the other times. You treat it like a job. You steal yourself. You pretend not to be present. One detaches oneself. One describes, not me, not my flesh. I'm not here. No more to you than a bee is to... And that's her breaking point. She kicks him with the stilettos he made her keep on, and...
Big mistake, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And he hits her and he calls her bitch, and she slugs him like a really good hit. And then they're on the floor and he slams her head into the ground. But when he turns her over, she finds a pin, stabs him. How many times, Kimberly?
23 times. And you know what the number 23 means?
What does it mean?
Julius Caesar was stabbed 23 times.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And for the final blow, she picks up a little statue and raises it.
It's like how he talks about my children.
Yeah, exactly. That's stupid.
Like the worst thing you could have said, like literally going to treat her hair. What are you thinking?
It's just inspiration for her to kill him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's so dumb. And she deals the death blow. And his head looks like dented. Great job, Zane. Nicely.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah, I love him. And she sinks to the floor as the inevitable consequences weigh in. And she looks down at herself, and there's blood everywhere. And there's a knock at the door.
I was just realizing that I think he wanted her on her front because he wants the butt.
Oh.
Yep. I thought that too, Kimberly.
Yeah. Clearly, he's not into women.
But I do wonder how he recognized her, because when she leaves the bar, she turns away from him, and he only saw her in her Gilead clothes, in her handmaid clothes with the wings on. So
yeah, I don't think I would ever recognize a handmaid outfit on.
Me neither.
Jezebel's version,
I remember seeing Lily after the bombing, the first Afghan. It was the first Afghan in the American embassy.
Yeah.
It was like 5 seconds till click. Oh shit.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that Winslow recognized her so quickly, and he's clearly inebriated. So
he's a detective, isn't he? Elliot Stabler. Yeah, he knows everyone.
That crushed me because I was a fan of that show. So when I saw he was a fucking piece of shit commander. I was like, fuck. I think, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I think that she was able to kill him because with the pen, she got him in the lung.
Yeah.
And that's why, because that's why she was able to, because he would have punched her again and she would have been done, unfortunately. But I'm glad she killed him. Very, very glad.
I love that she killed him with a pen too, because it's so symbolic of like, women can't read or write. It reminded me of, I think it was the end of 208 or maybe it's 207 when she clicks the pen. It's just like power.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning of the episode that you have there, when Eleanor is trying to like kill Lawrence, and June asks her to tells her that she needs to control herself, that you can't go around killing people, and then that's exactly what she does in this scene. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
What I enjoyed is that this is kind of like the first not Gilead sanctioned kill she has to do. So basically it's the first kill she chooses to do. Obviously she's defending herself, but the others, they affect her obviously, but she's forced to do them. This one, she obviously chose not to get raped anymore. I think that was the turning point. She's like, no more. Not like, I don't think that's why she was able to detach herself this time to be able to go through with it. So I thought it was very interesting how right after she's completely affected, she crossed that line. I think that you kill someone, usually your humanity line kind of gets blurred most of the time. So I think this is also a turning point for her, even though she's had to kill before in the persecutions and salvagings.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that if she had not been raped by Lawrence in the previous episode, that she would have been able to deal with the rape with Winslow? Like, I just feel like the rape with Lawrence was like already like, kind of brought her to the edge. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. We were discussing that with like that episode as well, and we did say that I think it's because it wasn't expected. It wasn't like if you're in the household and you know that you're gonna have to do the ceremony every month, then you're mentally prepared for it. Was these two occasions she wasn't prepared for them, and I do think that that's why the Lawrence one was a lot more distressing for her than the others.
And it was Winslow's fault, Winslow was there forcing it. So
yeah, true.
And I feel like June knew it's gonna be violent. It's not gonna be like the times at Jezebel's with Fred or what she had to do with Lawrence. So it's gonna be violent. It's gonna be this kind of rape. And I remember there was an interview with Chris Miller. I know it was a podcast or I read it, but he said June is just done. She does not want any more men touch her. So probably breaking point has been reached. Yeah.
I think the last ceremony was her breaking point with Fred while she was pregnant. And I think also what Raquel brings up about, the Lawrence ceremony was not supposed to happen. But I think that in that ceremony, she was still able to detach herself because it was a survival thing. And she made that choice. She made the choice to go through with it. And now this one, comparing to the last ceremony, she's just like, no.
Right.
Did you guys notice that, like the background? What would you call that thing, Kate? That wall thing? What is it?
I have no idea, but it was featured
like a room divider.
Yeah, the room divider.
Yeah.
Good word, Helen. Yeah.
There's like mini swastikas throughout that whole thing.
Oh. Yeah.
And I remember back in not that this has anything to do with swastikas, but when Eden and Isaac get drowned, I noticed that in the background of the pool, there's like all these crosses. And I just love how they kind of like, you have to really look for it. But if you find it, they put so many things in the episode, like all the small details. It's really
symbolism.
It's really cool that you can, that they put all that stuff in there.
So there's a knock at the door and June's sitting there just bloody. And she turns her head. It's a housekeeping Martha comes in and she's in shock, I guess. June is in shock. The Martha pretty quickly, she's shocked for a second, but she pretty quickly closes the door and gets down to business. She gets in June's face and is trying to get through to her. She tells June that she was one of the 5 Marthas that she saved. That's lucky. She tells her to go to the service elevator, gives her a card, implying she's going to handle everything. She's going to handle the body. And I kind of think June should take a quick shower, but that's not June's thing, it seems. Wearing blood is more June's thing. She's walking down the hall, fully bloody, and passes the commander and his chosen prey in the hall, but the commander doesn't notice her, luckily. And I quite enjoy Lawrence's look when she comes out into the garage. She gets in and just tells him to drive. The women are bossing them around in this episode, and I like it. Like when Serena was like, "Come," and June's like, "Drive."
Sadly, I think that in Jezebel's, I don't think it's that uncommon for women to get beaten by the commanders.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I also feel like June was too traumatized to like even think about taking a shower too. Like, because I had the same thought. I was like, wash the blood off. But then it's like, she just seemed like she was completely robotic, dead inside for that. Like right before that, when the Martha comes in, she just seemed very like.
I love that shot of her
I do too.
sitting there and just not being present mentally. And how it's framed and the way that her hair falls and how her face is, it looks perfect. It's like a perfect shot of Lizzie.
And the Martha says to her, "I recognize you from the cages." So she's one of the Marthas that she chose when Lawrence told her, "You have to choose 5 or they all die." And they are, women that they're bringing from the war, from Chicago, from the front.
They made a good choice, and that was a very lucky coincidence. But I like how it plays out. It's good.
I see everyone recognizes June.
That's what I wanted to say. It's also, well, she saw her at the cages, so she was also, or had been wearing the Handmaid's outfit at the cages and had her wings. So it's also surprising that the Martha immediately recognizes her.
I also feel like it would have been such a traumatic event that you would remember, maybe.
Probably,
like you think of these women, about to die, and they know they're about to die. So if something out of the ordinary happens, they would probably remember it.
Yeah.
And Fred and Serena are at a deserted gas station when Tuella pulls up and tells him to follow him. And she's relieved to see Tuella, but also quite nervous, visibly so. Even more nervous after Tuella tells them to follow him. Fred looks at her and asks, "How well do you know him? Do you trust him?" And she says yes. And there's an aerial shot as we wait to see what he'll do, and then he does follow him down a long and windy road, several of them. Fred stole my thoughts too when he said, "Where are we? This is not just up ahead." It is not just up ahead.
He's so dumb.
I know. Like, why? It's pretty wild that he keeps following. Anyway, like they could have literally spoken anywhere along this deserted route, and instead, anyway, he doesn't listen to his instincts.
I just love all the aerial shots of driving in the show, which they do a lot. I just think they all look really good.
Yeah, so I assume they were using drones from the get-go for all these shots. They're amazing. It's really notable here, and I love them.
It's kind of like the shot in, 210, when Nick's driving June to the summer house. They have the same kind of shot of the car going down the road. It's cool.
I would like that job. That would be fun.
Same.
So finally, Mark stops, and Serena's looking around at the woods around them, and Tuello tells Fred he's now crossed into Canada and they're arresting him for war crimes and crimes of aggression in violation of human rights treaties and international law. And people are coming out of the woods like everywhere. They're arresting Serena too. Fred's very defensive of Serena, telling them to let her go. And it's a little bit sweet how worried he is about her all of a sudden. Kimberly discovered something looking at the stills today that was interesting to me too.
Oh yeah, Luke and Moira were supposed to be in this shot. The Hulu actually released a still of them to like the press and journalists and stuff like that, and obviously they cut it in the final episode. Luke and Moira was supposed to be there watching.
When he gets arrested?
Yeah, when Fred gets arrested. Fred and Serena get arrested.
When somebody's executed there, they invite the family to watch. So the family of so maybe it was like that.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm glad that they cut it. I thought it was funny that I like kind of zoned out as they were like getting Serena. And then I realized that Tuella was still reading his list of crimes, like Fred's. Really long.
I put the subtitles on and I wrote it down, and it's really long.
Well,
I mean, it's accurate.
Yeah.
One of the things that caught my attention, now that you guys are talking about the list of crimes, is when Mark says you've been charged with war crimes and human rights violations based on documented evidence and testimony regarding your essential role, and it cuts off. And then it says acting on behalf of the Republic of Gilead, which is obvious, but documented evidence and testimony of like what's going on there.
Yeah, from who? I want to know who's telling him these things. Who is it?
Letters, maybe?
I wonder if like maybe some like Jezebels that he had slept with had escaped. I don't know. That was just like my like head.
Moira
probably.
Moira.
Seems to me like they had a lot, which is great if they do, but it was interesting.
Then we go to like one of the most, I love this montage between Jezebels and June at the Lawrences while they're playing Kate Bush, Cloudbuster. The best montage. June is still bloody. The Martha is kicking ass, making all the evidence disappear. Honestly, how do you get that much blood out of the carpet? I would pay good money.
Oh my god, I was like, how do you get any blood out of anything? Like,
yeah, right?
They made it seem so easy. Probably not the first time there's loads of blood.
Yeah.
In a room.
They've done this before plenty of times.
No, but the room is good as new by the end, down to a chocolate on the pillow, and the Marthas roll Winslow down to the makeshift crematorium they luckily have on hand. For real though, that's just a furnace, I guess, but it works quite effectively, and it has a really cool angry face on it. Again, like
there's a face.
It's such a good face. Then Lawrence is looking quite dapper in his plaid suit as he brings June a gun and says they'll be coming for us. And I love Lawrence. At least they're going to take some out with them. I love that he brings her a gun and he's on board with whatever she did and whatever happens from here. I like that.
I love the passage from the lyrics from Cloud Busting. It goes, you look too small in your big black heart to be a threat to the men in power. It was a perfect line with June putting on her Handmaid's dress.
Yeah. There's also a lyric about I can't hide you from the government.
Yeah.
I like that one too.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping they're going to use Running Up the Hill and
I know
in the finale or something. I feel like the Stranger Things probably ruined that, but
yeah.
But I was hoping because it's like a perfect Handmaid's Tale song.
Totally.
I was just thinking when they were cleaning it up so meticulously. I was remembering when Moira killed that commander, they probably did the same thing for her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they also have to be used to kind of cleaning up the girls' bodies because
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
As well,
yeah.
Things probably do go wrong when some of the commanders probably get a little bit rough, and some girls might kill themselves as well. It's not an easy life. So,
well, on that depressing note, shall we move to the deep dive?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free analysis of this episode. If you are a new watcher, you probably want to go now because we're about to talk about the episode in the context of the show to date. So come back on Thursday for our analysis of season 3, episode 12. If you're a longtime fan, hang out for a second and we will start our deep dive.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, totally. We'll use it for every intro.
Yeah.
This was the hardest episode to talk about in
spoiler
free. So here, talk freely. Who has a note?
Oh man,
everyone has notes.
Yeah. I feel like everybody has the same note.
I have one that just delighted me.
You owe me.
Yeah. I feel like all of you. Yes, it's so good, right?
I completely forgot she did that.
I literally just typed "fucking power couple."
Yes.
Yeah. So 4-3, same exact freaking scene. I completely forgot that where Nick and Lawrence are drinking and talking, and he says, "You owe me," just like June said, "You owe me" in this episode. Pretty great.
Yep.
I love them. It's so good.
I had forgotten as well. And when she said, I was like, oh my God, it's exactly the same scene. Great.
I thought you were talking about Lawrence and June being a power couple for a second. I was like, oh, yeah, I could see that.
No. June and Nick having the same conversation with Lawrence across multiple seasons of the show is great.
Having that power over Lawrence as well, who's like such a cunning person, that is great.
They really are like a powerful couple at this point.
I mean, and just like saying the same, it's not like they plan that. They like share a brain at this point.
Right, exactly. Somebody called them twin flames. I love that. The Chicago Martha, just to go back, we see her again. We see the Martha that's like leading the Marthas talking shit to June.
Both of them are in that scene.
Yeah.
Okay, both. What is the episode? We should probably be more clear about what we're talking about.
Is it Chicago?
4 or 5.
405, yeah.
Yeah, so in 4 or 5.
But yeah, both of them are in that scene.
Right. And Nick is questioning them then, and they're very unhappy with June at that point. So they're unhappy with her now and confronting her directly in season 3. And then fast forward to season 4, episode 5, and Nick's trying to find out where June is because Lawrence thinks she might be near Chicago. And they confirm that she is in Chicago, but they are like they want nothing to do with her. She gets everybody killed. So,
Which she does say that she does say that if something goes wrong, their blood is on your hands.
But okay, here's
wrong.
a question I have for you guys. Like, I feel like as a Martha, like if you willingly participated in this, like I feel like that like this is basically like a suicide mission. Like once they find out that the child's been kidnapped, you're going to be put on the wall. Like, I know that sounds insensitive, but like the Marthas who helped, they didn't have to, but they knew that there was huge risk.
And they were willing to help. So what does that tell you about the love and the care and how they see Gilead? I'm pretty sure the Marthas also knew that the Marthas have their own thing going on, doing contraband, which I'm pretty sure there's a greater good for it. But I guess they wanted to do something bigger. And like you said, they knew the risk. So it's like casualties of war.
Even Beth, when she's like about to be killed, she says to John, don't say anything. Like she's willing to, die for the cause, and she's happy. Well, she's probably not happy, but she's willing to do that, and she doesn't want June to give up the other handmaids to save her. I don't think all of them probably felt the same way. Probably Sienna wasn't feeling the same way, but sometimes you just kind of like get caught in the way, and it's a shame. But yeah, I do feel like if they're willingly partaking in taking those kids out of the houses and taking them to June to escape, then that they are putting their own lives in at risk, and it's not really June's fault. But I think the Martha's in this scene did kind of like cut the feeling that maybe she was being a little bit, I don't know, just she hadn't really planned it properly, and there's a higher risk of things going wrong because she just.
I don't think that there would be any way to get around the risk though. Like
no, and I think she was lucky. I think she was able to pull it off because she was lucky. Like this was just a lucky draw, and she tried so many things before that failed and exploded in her face, and she just went with it, and she was lucky because I don't think Gilead ever expected anybody to pull it off. So in part, like I
even try it.
Even try. So in a way, it was like it happened just because she got lucky, but it happened, it worked. So if you don't take a risk, I don't know.
What you said though, like what best case scenario, they do get out of the country or get it. So what is going to happen to those martyrs afterwards? Like they're going to know that it was you that, because you had the child. So the child is gone. You're going to die anyway. So you know what's going to happen. You're not going to get out. The child is going to get out, but you're not. So you're going to face the consequences. So you already know what you're doing.
And maybe the Marthas were mad because the Marthas who probably were a part of like the resistance network were the ones who just participated in Angel's flight. So they lost probably a bunch of people within their resistance network too. So
And just talking about Chicago, it just reminded me of a couple other parallels with that episode, which is one, she tries to like walk in as a boss in Chicago and like take control, and that pisses people off. They're like, that's not, you just got here, our show. It's just a thing June does. And also that she can't let Winslow rape her now, even though it's smarter than killing him. And she can't give Steven a blowjob when it comes down to it either. Like she really has reached her limit on the sexual slavery.
I have a few parallels. So I think it was in 410, they were asking Fred about a bunch of women that had been killed at Jezebel's. So then that made me think, okay, they obviously, this was like a regular occurrence at Jezebel's that women were killed. But I just thought it was karma, like to have a commander being killed at Jezebel's after, so many women had probably been beaten to death or whatever. I also, another 410 parallel, when Nick captured Fred and was driving him to no man's land, it looked like kind of similar scenery as when Fred and Serena were driving into Canada or no man's land. And just Fred being in the woods. Like, I was like, oh, next time we see Fred in the woods is a completely different scenario.
Oh yeah, I noticed the roads. I thought of 409 though, when June is driving to the school. And I remember that in 409, the road is very curvy, very meandering. And here in this episode, the roads are mostly just straight. And I don't know, trying to interpret that, I thought that, well, June's mind is made up. So they're going straight towards the target, what they want. And June as well as Nick driving Fred later through the meandering road maybe indicates that there are still, doubts about, or moral conflicts playing in them, chaos, whatever. So I thought of these three scenes like that.
Since we're talking about 410, I just realized that obviously she kills Winslow, who's the commander, and she's obviously very distraught. But then she seems pretty content using her bare hands to kill Freddie in 410. I like that. I think I had two things for deep dive. It was the Lawrence conversation when he says he overlooked mental health, and then he says he also overlooked maternal love. Sorry. That made me think of that whole situation with having Hannah in 403 inside the box. I think that was all Lawrence is doing. Lawrence is very meticulous and very thinks more about these kind of things, how to break you, and he knew exactly how to break June. And it's because of that maternal love. So I do think that when, as we were talking, Nick says to him, "You owe me." I think that's what Lawrence figured was the only way to get June to talk, was to threaten her with Hannah. And obviously it worked.
Yeah.
When Lauren says about mental health, I was just wondering, did Eleanor have mental health problems before Gilead?
Yes. Yes, she does.
She did.
Yeah. She talks about it when she goes with June to see Hannah. She says that she wanted to have children and that Lawrence didn't, and that they kept adjusting her dosage of her medication.
That's why they could. Well, that's why he didn't want to.
Well, that was a bit of an oversight, Lauren.
Yeah.
Right.
I honestly don't think, like, the first time that I saw season 3, I couldn't grasp this character. Like, is he good? Is he not good? Obviously all the characters are gray, but doing the rewatch, I kind of noticed that he just didn't think that Gilead was going to become what it was. I don't think his idea of punishment was if you were a woman, you couldn't read or you couldn't, like, I don't think he believed any of that crap. No, he just wanted an utopia, a better world. And even when he's talking to June in this episode, he says, I'll try to find you a kind commander. Like, and then it just made me think of what we were talking about earlier about all those things, like the Martha's going in to talk to his house, how he gets Emily out. Like, it just gave me the impression that he was dabbling in this before. Like, he's always had this kind of resistance thing without compromising himself, because obviously he doesn't want to die, but he's still trying to do some good, even though he's a commander and he pushed for this world. And he's paying, his penance is pretty much his wife. Like, that's his payment, his karma, is having to see his wife completely hate him for the things that she thinks and that he probably did.
Yeah. I feel like he kind of shuts off too when he has to do something that he doesn't like in regards to Gilead. I don't know if that's just me, but I just love all these responses when they say, like, blessed day, blessed be the fruit. He's just like, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't like them.
Yeah, it's clear, like, some of the commanders, they all had, like, different motives, I think, like, going into Gilead. Like, Lawrence, I think, was economical. Obviously people like Winslow and Fred, it was power. But then you think of, like, Price, and, like, I think that he actually did, have a faith and wanted it to be, this biblical utopian society. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I think his humanity is still there. I mean, I think it's always been there. It's just, it's something that you can't have in Gilead. If you have it, it's a weakness. And I think this show, like, they show you the different types of humanity that these characters have, because even in this episode, we see a little bit of the humanity that Fred kind of still had, but he's done so much fucked up shit that it's really hard for you to, like, analyze it. Like, when he was talking to Serena, like, I honestly thought that he was being sincere, even though I know that he loves power and he loves being, he was never going to give her power ever again, because that made him feel small. And that's the problem. He feels small and insecure. So, but in that scene, I kind of felt that he was sincere. Like, he would have given it up for her in that moment. So it's really hard for me as a viewer to see these things, because it's like, I fucking hate this piece of shit and I want him to die. Same as with Serena. I know that happens to Kate a lot. Like, in season 2 and 3, you're like, okay, well, maybe, but then you think about all the fucked up shit she's done and why she's done it. When you analyze, like, why does she keep doing this to herself? And it's just really frustrating as a viewer for you to kind of like morally try to understand something that's not moral, I guess.
Yeah. You almost kind of forget. You forget what they've done. Not Fred. I never forget what Fred's done, but for Serena,
not at all.
I just seem to forget what that she's done, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, but wait, she did this, she did this, she did that. So,
just had a couple of notes on 410 as well. One was which is the same as what I said earlier about June saying to Eleanor that, you know, sometimes you can't do what you want to do and kill people. And then obviously she does that in this episode, but she also plans to kill Fred in 410, sorry. And also about the telephone in 409 that Lawrence is used June uses to contact Lawrence, and you can see her pulling out today or in this episode. So I thought that was a nice parallel to their relationship after she leaves Gilead, that she's still connected to him, even though he just left, or he was trying to escape.
So, like, I looked up the license plate. All right, it's probably nonsense, but every time I do look up one of these numbers, this angel number thing comes up and it's relevant. So it was like 826-439, and 826 is a number that represents changing all the sectors of your life for the better or a new beginning. So it seems relevant. And then 439 was a symbol of awakening new confidence inside of us, like right before gets in the car to drive, but whatever. I don't know. I only looked it up because you guys made me. Probably bullshit. So we were unclear when we were doing spoiler free if it is obvious that Serena's done this on purpose, because we have seen the whole show and we know she's done it on purpose. So we decided to probably cut the part where we were discussing it like that. But yeah, like you said, Raquel, it looks like throughout the episode she's having a lot of second thoughts. She still wants to do it, but you can see Yvonne's amazing at expressing that she's very nervous.
You also kind of see, like, when she's kind of like, when she says to him, or she asks him, how could you do that to me? Like, it seems like she's got a reason to betray him, that she's kind of like exposing everything he did to her and why she would want to do this to him. So that's what, again, before I rewatched this episode, I wasn't too sure if she was doing it on purpose or she knew what was going to happen. But after watching the episode today, I do think that she definitely knew, and that she was trying to punish him in a way, and she was trying to reinforce her own opinion on him, and that's why she was doing it. It seems like she was just excusing herself.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to betray someone, you want them to know why. So it's interesting that they had that conversation and she was able to tell him. But I still think it was dirty that she fucked him right before betraying him.
She wanted the pain before. She might not get it for a while.
Well,
I was waiting for her.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tyler's definitely happy to
take care of that.
The uterus lamp we can now discuss in the context of her actually apparently getting pregnant then. So,
do you think that had like special powers?
Yes, it was a magical uterus lamp.
Maybe it threw like new sperm into its peen, and then like it was like the fertile stuff, like witches.
I think that's the story. That is what they wanted us to believe. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Back to the Serena Fred arrest. You could also kind of tell that she was in on it too, because of the way they took them. Like, Serena was kind of plopped into the front seat of one of the cars, and Fred was like in the back. Like, did they handcuff him? I don't know, but it was very different the way they treated them.
Yeah, his was rougher. He was fighting back a bit too, though. But I agree that that was kind of a clear tell. Yeah.
And she doesn't hear any charges. They just take her with them, but nobody's charging her. So
yeah.
Well, he says she's done nothing wrong. Like, she's trying to defend her and protect her, but then I don't know if it's a few episodes later in season 4, he turns against her.
Yeah.
I had another parallel about 410, which I forgot to say earlier, but sounded like I don't remember what he says in this episode, but he says something along the lines of like, "Oh, we would just drive back," like really casually, like he can do that after like he's literally been arrested. And he sounded similar to when he in 410 when he says, "Oh, I'm a mum, I've got rights," and it just sounded like just so stupid. Like, but he was so casual. "Oh, yeah, we just drive back. Serena, get in the car. We're just gonna go back to Gilead."
Yeah, and then all these people swarm at the back. One thing I forgot to say in the other part, spoiler free, was that the details again in this episode are really great. Like when they're getting arrested, you see, and would you call it an army? What would you call it? Military officers. They're just the patch on their uniforms. The detail of it's the American flag, obviously, but there's only 2 stars.
Ah,
I
And
didn't
yeah, I like that. No, I didn't.
and it's Alaska and Hawaii because they're the only ones that aren't, taken over by Gilead. So I thought that was really cool that they put that on there.
Wonder what happened to Puerto Rico.
Because it's also an island. It's also, not the mainland USA. So I feel like it should be 3 stars. They forgot about Puerto Rico, probably.
They always do. It's okay. We're good. We're good.
I mean, Puerto Rico doesn't get a star now, right? Which is fucked up.
No, we don't have a star.
Oh, really? Fuck. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
You can't vote.
I knew about the vote. I didn't know about the star not being there.
Did you get any indication of Fred wanting to do anything about Nicole or Holly? Because he says in the conversation with Serena, he said, "Oh, I want this for our daughter." And do we get that he wanted to do anything apart from like the videos and all of that when he's like with Winslow? Like he didn't say like he cared that much about Nicole. So kind of like wonder if something happened with Winslow, or he did make a move and Fred didn't like it, because he seemed like he was like really into the whole idea of like betraying Gilead, but I don't think the episode before we had any indication of that at all. I think he changed very quickly.
Well, the Nicole videos were probably more for Serena than they were for Nicole.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he never seemed to really care. And it wasn't really that much about Nicole, but him gaining power, I think.
No. I don't think he really gave a fuck. He just wanted Serena to like get back with him and, play the happy couple again.
Well, the optics for Gilead, for him, it's like the poor family that got their baby kidnapped by this horrible woman, like it looks good on him. He's a marketing guy. So he's just marketing the pain of losing, quote unquote, their daughter, and also dragging it, making it, like you said, appearing that he's doing something for Serena and then just following Winslow's lead because that's what he wanted. So I guess that's kind of like his conflict of the power that he wants, but maybe caring for Serena in a way. Maybe that's what they were trying to show us.
He agreed to? What's the story Serena told him? Is that they're going to agree to like give them Nicole back if he shares some information? Is that what the story is?
I think that's what she says to him.
What is he gaining from it apart from getting Nicole? Like, surely that's kind of put his position in danger if Gilead does find out that he's been doing these things. And he's also going to undermine Gilead, which he's happy to go back, right?
The contact, or what Serena calls, is cooperation. So it probably wouldn't be an official cooperation. So Fred would unofficially give intel and make Serena happy by getting Nicole back, so that was his gain in saying yes, so that Gilead does not know that he cooperates with Canada, Swiss, ICC, whomever, and Serena has her baby, so she is his happy wife again, and then he can proceed with his career and Gilead, DC, Winslow. That's how I saw it. I have one little note. I love how the industrial washing machine in Jezebel's, when they put all the sheets from the bed and started, how it sounds like airplane engines, kind of like a little foreshadowing that the plan is going to work.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny they bothered washing any of the sheets rather than just burning them.
Spend them, yeah.
What do you think? When you burn someone, right? Did the teeth like not burn? Is that the whole? In
the last season of Dexter got in trouble because he burned a body in a house not well enough and there were teeth left behind or something. Or maybe it was an implant.
Some of the fillings stay because they're like some kind of metal that doesn't melt in the temperatures that are in normal incinerator.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our deep dive into Season 3, Episode 11. Come back on Thursday for our analysis of Season 3, Episode 12. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it. Our Father, who art in heaven, Seriously? What the actual fuck?
Gilead doesn't care about children. Gilead cares about power.
Why does healing have to be the only goal? Why can't we be as furious as we feel?
For whatever man sows, so shall he reap.